Mr. Michaels, a successful financial investor in his early 50s, began psychotherapy after facing an ultimatum of his wife of 30 years, who had threatened to leave him if he did not seek treatment and change his attitudes and behavior. Mr. Michaels described himself as a committed, goal-oriented, and success-focused man, but one also in need of many parallel intense activity tracks, including competitive sailing and extramarital affairs, to balance what he described as a deep internal darkness that he had suffered from since early childhood. Easily irritated by others' inconsistency and imprecision, he also described himself as distant, unempathetic, and self-preoccupied. But most importantly, he struggled with a sense of emptiness and frustration, of never reaching the satisfaction and sense of accomplishment that he so intensely desired. He felt guilty for not being a good husband, and though he loved his children and adored his grandchildren, he felt distant, struggled with urges to leave, and experienced a sense of deeper, diffuse guilt, as if he had not deserved or could not embrace the fact that he indeed meant something and contributed to both his family and company. He felt trapped, unable to pursue what he really wanted in life, and asked the therapist if there was indeed any help for this condition. In his youth, Mr. Andrews, now an aging music movie composer, was spoiled by local recognition and success. Little was now left from his past grandeur. His job had come to a deadlock. His wife had died in a car accident, and his body was aging and weak. Oblivious to his collapsing life, he started drinking heavily to blur the distinction between sad reality and his idyllic memory of his past, where he could be with his wife again and they could play the piano together. He came to treatment upon the urging of his worried children. Dr. Brown, a medical resident, spent many hours dedicated to his career. Little did his family and colleagues know what he was hiding between the external appearance of a promising, though slightly haughty trainee. Driven to become the best, he developed a habit of drinking daily at work, 2 or 3 bottles of wine, to fend off anxiety about his evaluation. He felt that he must be a real genius if he could perform complicated surgeries while intoxicated. Thinking of himself as an exceptional human being, he believed that his drinking was excusable, if not commendable, that common rules did not apply to him, and that his surgeries were better and his scientific writing more innovative compared to that with others. When his wife noticed his increased tremors and other withdrawal signs, she urged him to start treatment. Mr. Connors is a 45-year-old unemployed architect who came into treatment following the loss of his fiancée, who succumbed to cancer. His savings had dwindled during the course of taking care of her until her last breath. His wealthy brother gave Mr. Connors an allowance and was paying his rent. Paralyzed by an antagonizing fear of failure, Mr. Connors was procrastinating about his job search, spending months in aimless smoking, painting action figures, or in late-night bar visits. Avoidance preserved the illusion of superiority and a secret triumph of his competitive wishes vis-a-vis his brother. Frustrated by his brother's stagnation, his brother made the allowance conditional on performing some work. Plagued by procrastination, Mr. Connors was unable to fulfill his work duties and became preoccupied with fears of losing the allowance, becoming homeless, and living on the street. He contemplated killing himself, hoping to avoid humiliation and defeat through suicide. The crisis was relieved when he became more accepting of himself and took a less demanding job. Miss Bennett, a 24-year-old research assistant in biotechnology, began treatment after her second near-lethal suicide attempt. She described herself to the therapist as the top achiever in her lab, very meticulous and determined to do research projects according to optimal scientific standards in order to reach reliable results. However, despite evidence of her competence, Miss Bennett struggled with horrific fear of making mistakes. Her internal requirements for absolute perfection, combined with extremely harsh self-criticism, caused constant doubts that her work would meet the standards she had set up for herself. She spent a lot of time studying and preparing to make sure that her supervisor, whom she admired for his exceptional skill and reputation, acknowledged her and supported her plans for a career in the field. She described recurrent episodes of getting trapped inside herself on a roller coaster of aspirations and ambitions, demands, self-criticism, self-hatred, doubts, and fear, especially in facing new tasks and projects. At those times, she lost her ability to think clearly and concentrate, and began to think about suicide. Usually, she managed these situations by excessive alcohol consumption, but she had also begun to come in late and even cancel work. On 2 occasions, she felt such fear of losing her competence and hence her reputation in the lab and appreciation from her supervisor that she saw ending her life as the only way out. Miss Bennett did not suffer from a major depressive disorder. Nevertheless, she had intermittent mood fluctuations that coincided with rapid shifts in her self-regulation, i.e., her sense of agency, self-esteem, and self-judgment.